Imagine spending your life behind bars, knowing that there's no escape, no second chance. For some cartel members, the day of reckoning comes not in the form of gunfire, but in the silent blow of a life sentence. Today we're uncovering the reactions of 5 notorious cartel members who faced this exact fate. Their stories not only reflect the brutal world of organized crime, but also the human emotions tied to their downfall. Let's delve into their responses and reflections as they confronted the realities of their sentences. Case 1. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the infamous leader of the Sinaloa cartel, is perhaps one of the most recognized figures in the drug trade. His capture in 2016 was celebrated as a significant victory for law enforcement, yet it did little to stem the tide of violence associated with his organization. In July 2019, Guzman was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years for his role in trafficking massive quantities of drugs into the United States. As the judge pronounced his sentence, Guzman's demeanor was stoic, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of defiance. He maintained his innocence, asserting that he was being framed by rivals and the U.S. government. In a statement delivered through his lawyer, he expressed disbelief at the severity of the punishment, claiming that he was being made a scapegoat in the larger war on drugs. "I never killed anyone," he declared, despite evidence that contradicted his claims. For Guzman, the life sentence was not just a personal failure, it was an affront to his legacy and his empire. In the days following his sentencing, Guzman's reaction shifted. He displayed a mix of anger and resignation, realizing that his years of evading capture and his reputation as a kingpin had culminated in an irreversible fate. Even in prison, he remained unrepentant, continuing to communicate with his associates and asserting his influence within the cartel. Guzman's reaction highlighted the complexities of cartel loyalty and the blurred lines between guilt and innocence in a world rife with corruption. Case 2. Alfredo Beltran Leiva. Alfredo Beltran Leiva, another major player in the Mexican drug trade, was sentenced to life in prison in 2018 for his involvement with the Beltran Leiva organization. His reaction was markedly different from Guzman's. During the sentencing phase, Beltran Leiva appeared visibly shaken, reflecting on the years he spent building his empire and the choices that led him to this moment. In his final statement, Beltran Leiva expressed regret, acknowledging the pain and suffering he had caused to countless families. "I have taken lives, and for that I am truly sorry," he stated, his voice trembling. This admission of guilt stood in stark contrast to the typical bravado exhibited by cartel leaders. For Beltran Leiva, the reality of his life sentence forced him to confront the human cost of his actions. As he was led away, Beltran Leiva's expression was one of despair. He had once been a powerful figure, commanding respect and fear. Now, he was just another inmate, facing the consequences of a life spent in crime. His reaction underscored the toll that a life of violence takes, not just on victims but on perpetrators as well. Beltran Leiva's sentencing became a moment of reckoning, a painful reminder that power and wealth do not shield one from justice. Case 3. Vicente Zambada Nibla. Vicente Zambada Nibla, the son of Ismael El Mayo Zambada, also faced a life sentence, but his path to sentencing was unique. Known for his cooperation with U.S. authorities, Zambada Nibla had testified against other cartel members, providing crucial information that led to numerous arrests. His cooperation was seen as a betrayal by many in the cartel world, and he was forced to reckon with the consequences of his choices. When Zambada Nibla was sentenced, he displayed a mix of fear and relief. On one hand, he understood the gravity of his situation. On the other, he felt a sense of vindication for having cooperated with law enforcement. "I wanted to save my life, and I thought this was the only way," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. Zambada Nibada's decision to cooperate had put a target on his back, and he faced the reality that he would live the rest of his life under threat, even within prison walls. His reaction highlighted the complexity of loyalty and survival in the drug trade. Zambada Nibada had once enjoyed the privilege of being a cartel heir, but his cooperation had altered his identity. He became a witness and a target, navigating a treacherous path fraught with danger and regret. Zambada Nibada's story serves as a cautionary tale about the fragility of power and the harsh realities of betrayal. Case 4. Jose Angel El Changel Hiram Salazar. Jose Angel, also known as El Changel, was a feared enforcer for the Zetas cartel. His arrest in 2017 led to multiple charges, including murder and drug trafficking. When sentenced to life in prison, Salazar's reaction was one of disbelief. He was notorious for his brutal methods, and many expected him to embrace his punishment with defiance. Instead, Salazar broke down in tears as the judge delivered the sentence. "I never thought it would come to this," he lamented. For him, life behind bars represented not just a loss of freedom but a complete disintegration of his identity. Salazar had built his reputation on fear, but in that moment the weight of his actions crushed him. "I thought I was untouchable," he admitted, grappling with the realization that he was just as vulnerable as anyone else. Salazar's reaction revealed the human side of a man who had once instilled fear in the hearts of many. He began to question the path he had chosen, reflecting on the lives he had taken and the families he had destroyed. In the aftermath of his sentencing, Salazar's demeanor changed. He became quieter, more introspective, as he faced the reality of his new life in prison. His transformation was a poignant reminder of how quickly power can slip away and how the consequences of violence can haunt even the most hardened individuals. Case 5. Edgar La Barbie Valdez Villarreal. Edgar Valdez Villarreal, known as La Barbie, was another high-profile figure in the drug trade. A former enforcer for the Beltran Leyva organization, Valdez was notorious for his ruthlessness. In 2018, he was sentenced to 49 years in prison, a life sentence that left him visibly shaken. Valdez's reaction was particularly striking, as he had long reveled in his status as a feared cartel operative. In a moment of vulnerability, he expressed disbelief at how quickly his life had spiraled out of control. "I thought I was invincible," he said, staring blankly at the floor. The weight of his actions began to dawn on him, and he struggled to reconcile the glamorous life he once led with the bleak reality of prison. As he faced his life sentence, Valdez began to reflect on the choices he had made. "I was living for the moment, never thinking about the future," he admitted, a sense of regret evident in his tone. Valdez's transformation from a powerful enforcer to a defeated man underscored the harsh realities of the drug trade. His story served as a stark reminder that even the most feared figures are not immune to the consequences of their actions.